Hey everyone, what's going on? It's 2 minutes to review. It's Matt.
And it's Zach.
Longest album review in under 2 minutes wins. I feel a little bit sad talking about this album, and
Why?
I think the Foo Fighters could kind of agree with you on this one, that this is probably an album that they never thought that they would be making, but it is their brand new one, but here we are.
I mean, let's be real. A new Foo Fighters album, regardless of the circumstances, is a big deal. But I think the Foo Fighters are a band that I think a lot of fans took for granted, as in, oh, they'll always be here for us, they'll always be around. And the unfortunate passing and tragic loss of Taylor Hawkins really made us realize how much we kind of took them for granted, because it kind of seemed like, all right, yeah, maybe they will continue on, but it's a shock that they even were able to turn around a new album as fast as they did, all things considered. I mean, it's been just a little over a year since Taylor passed away. And also, as you start peeling some of the onions and finding out, oh, wow, Dave's mother, Virginia, passed away. Kind of a shock that they didn't publicly announce it. It's still not really public knowledge, but it's kind of basically said, yeah, it's a bad secret that she passed away, unfortunately. So we know everything that's gone on in Dave Grohl's life. Someone who's usually so much of an open book, that to not really know a lot about this album going in left a lot of fans going, what can we expect? So it's kind of a big deal that there even is a new Foo Fighters album, which is kind of a weird statement to say out loud as well. But here we are, new Foo Fighters music, without question, probably the most anticipated rock album of 2023, maybe even the past 2 years, dare I say. And Matt and I were going to give this bad boy a review and share our thoughts and see who between us can give the longest review in under 2 minutes. But before we do, a little special shout out to Lucky 13 Beard Co.
Log on to Lucky13, beardco.com. If you ever wanted to try Beard Bomber Oil, this is your opportunity, because, well, not only are you going to get some great products, but you're also going to get 10% off of your entire order. Just use the code EFP10 at checkout, and you are going to get, like I said, some of the highest quality beard bombs and oils that I think are on the market right now, and they smell amazing. They've got tons and tons of scents on their website. I actually believe they just released a couple of brand new ones, but we also have ours that we have through Lucky 13. It is the Lemmy Bourbon Tobacco Cola and Leather. It smells amazing. It's going to leave you feeling epic. Use the code EFP10 at checkout. Lucky 13, beardco.com.
And if there's anyone that I bet would love a beard oil that smells like Lemmy, it's Dave Grohl himself, a man who considered Lemmy to be an icon of. Ed, can we get maybe a bottle over to Dave Grohl, please? I'll send you over his mailing address. I have it. Don't ask me how I have it. Matt, I know I'm going to shock you.
You want to go first?
I would like to go first.
Okay. I guess we can make that happen.
I'm going to see if I can get the best of you with my review and give a longer review in under 2 minutes.
Stop being the pretender. Let's go.
Count me down.
3, 2, 1, go.
All right. So I'm going to be honest. I wasn't initially wowed by the first single, Rescue. But any concern that Grohl & Co. was phoning it in quickly dissolved when I heard the single Under You. And then once I actually delved into the album and heard songs like Hearing Voices and Nothing at All, I was just floored. I mean, Grohl once again shows that he has a gift for injecting earworm hooks into punchy 90s alt rock, and it creates an album that really has a lot of similarities to the first two albums. And granted, if you liked how the band became a bit more grander sounding and created a soundtrack that was really fitting for arena rock, you might feel underwhelmed by this, but there is a certain punch and focus on this album that I haven't heard from Dave Grohl or the Foo Fighters in many, many years. And it kind of proves that everyone grieves differently. Some just kind of get into a melancholy, sad state and do really sad songs. But Foo Fighters on this album prove that sometimes you just need to rock. And yeah, there's definitely some slower, softer moments here, but there's a sense of catharticism on this album that just really resonates, that I feel like it's going to just remind a lot of fans as to why they fell in love with the Foo Fighters in the first time. And it's really the perfect album to kind of grieve, but persevere through.
And we got a time. What is your star rating out of 5?
Out of 5 stars, I'm leaning towards a 4. Listen, I think Wasting Light is still the best Foo Fighters album. Maybe that will tell you a little bit about who I am, because that's definitely one of their more heavier sounding albums. But this is a damn great album. Like I mentioned before, I was a little nervous when Rescued came out, because I thought it was like, oh, this is like, it seems like they could have cut some parts here. It doesn't really sound really focused. And granted, that song's grown on me, but the rest of the album's like, no. The band came to play. The band sounds really tight. Knowing everything that the band and Grohl in particular has gone through in the past year, you can just hear the emotion here without necessarily trying to feel, oh, woe was me. It's an album that helps you persevere through the hardest of times. It really, and I'm literally hearing voices I keep playing over and over again. I almost had to stop myself so I can actually listen to the rest of the album to give a better review. Such a great song. Really, really impressed.
Okay.
But Matt, what say you?
I say things.
You say things?
I say things and give reviews.
Well, then, you ready?
Count me in.
3, 2, 1, go.
So going into this, knowing what the Foo Fighters have been through in the recent past, it's kind of hard for me to listen to the album and go through it without, thinking about what's going on. And there is absolutely no way that you can listen to this album and not realize that the Foo Fighters have gone through and seen some shit, right? Because this album has a heaviness and a weightiness about it that I think kind of trumps any other album that you might associate with hard times. There's just something here that makes you realize, damn, they're going through something when they're recording this. And there's not just your typical Foo Fighters, quote unquote, dad rock on here like Rescued and Under You. But when you start getting into some of the deeper tracks like Show Me How, where his daughter Violet actually picks up on vocals and sounds like the lead singer of the Cardigans, to absolute amazement in this track. It's so good. Just the way that him and his daughter kind of blend together. And just going into other tracks like The Teacher, a 10-minute long Foo Fighters song that you never really thought that you needed and wanted. They take it in a very proggy direction and a very, I would say, almost like ethereal feel for the Foo Fighters, because they don't do that too often, and it works really well. And then I would almost say kind of like a Something in the Way vibe from Nirvana on Rest, which is a amazing way to close out this album, but it also is probably one of the most heartbreaking tracks on this entire album. But all in all, for an album that they've never expected to make, they knocked it out of the park.
All right, out of 5 stars, what would you give this?
4.5. Yeah,
I think it's just fair to say this is a special album.
It is. You can hear it. And I was afraid, listening to it, like any Grief album is almost like a concept album, because you're tying everything around one centralized theme and telling a story, and you can feel the story here. However, it doesn't come off as concept-y, and it doesn't come off as, just woe is us, but it really tells a story about all of the feelings that the guys have gone through with everything over the last year or two. And it really feels, and it's really hard to do with audio, but it feels weighty. It really makes you sit there and think about every single thing that's gone on in their lives, that's going on in your life. And then just the way that they round out the song Rest with, I believe the lyric is something to the effect of, I'll see you again underneath the warm Virginia sun. I mean,
that made me, yeah.
It's such a beautiful and heartbreaking way to round out the album.
That broke my heart, that lyric.
There's just something here that I think they've been waiting to get out for a long time, and they finally got it out. And I know we talked about this in the beginning when they first released the first single and the album artwork. I think the album artwork fits this album perfectly.
I was actually thinking that. I remember when it first came out, that artwork, I'm like, there's nothing to this. This isn't like, oh, this is getting me nervous. Like, what what's going on here? But you're right. Once you listen to the album, it's like, no, this is perfect. This is just, it sets the mood. It all makes sense. It all ties in together so well. Everything about it works when it really could have not.
Yeah,
I think that's what makes it more extraordinary as well, is that like this album had every right to fail, especially when you consider Medicine at Midnight. You've probably heard us review that album before, but that was such a disappointing album.
Yeah.
And yeah, again, different circumstances were made of that album, but to see the band kind of take the tragedy that they've experienced this past year and turn themselves around to produce something that's actually meaningful. It's inspiring in a way. It kind of makes you think, yeah, maybe I can get over my slump, whatever slump I might be in. It's a cup of motivation you need in the morning. That's what this album maybe is a good way to describe it as.
I wouldn't necessarily put it that way myself. Like I wouldn't. This is not an easy listening album. Like you don't put this on and on your commute to work and hope to feel better about yourself. At least in my opinion.
Here's where I disagree with that though, because yes, there's a lot of sad moments here, and definitely the lyrics that'll make you gut wrench here. But at no point do I hear the band give up. And I think that's almost an overarching theme here, is that they are sad, they're grieving, and I think even Show Me How is a great example of, yeah, I wish you were here, but I'm not going to let that make me stop. I'm not going to let that stop me from continuing on. I'm not going to let you down. I'm going to continue on. It's persevering through even the darkest of times, which I think now more than ever, or even just the past 3 years, if that's so needed. And I know sometimes you need to have that ugliness shown in your face in order for you to recognize, all right, no. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And I think Show Me How is just a beautiful song, not just because Violet's on it, but I'm going to butcher the line, but just the idea of being like, I'll take it from here, essentially. I'm going to get a little personal and sad here, but I've had a good chunk of family members pass away. And the one saying in prayer that in Jewish culture that's actually really kind of helped me is, may their memory be a blessing. To me, that's a great way to remind you going, listen, do not harp on what you didn't do with them. Do not harp on what could have been. Instead, be grateful for what you had with them, and that memory will never die. And as long as you don't let that memory die, their spirit will always live on too. And I think this album is a perfect way to remind yourself of, listen, yes, it sucks that they're gone. You would probably trade places with them in a heartbeat just so they can continue on here. But you now have a responsibility to continue on in their honor and memory. And I think this album is a great testament to that for Taylor, in that they will not let his work and hard work to help the band propel go to waste. And even for Virginia, that all that she's done for her son, Dave, he's not taking that in vain, that he's going to continue on in her memory as well. I think that's where the cup of motivation comes in. It's like, yeah, times are tough. This shit is rough. You got this.
I think that just anytime you listen to this album, you should be reminded to just keep moving on, because they could have shut down shop and said, nope, that's it. We can't do it after Taylor. But, honoring what he wanted to move on with the band, and he would want the band to move on and not just stop because he's not there anymore.
And I actually think he's probably even happier that Josh Freese, who, granted, they haven't really made it clear if he will ever appear on an album, but he's at least the touring drummer in Foo Fighters. Someone who's a close friend of who was a close friend of Taylor's. I think he probably would have been happy that they even brought someone like him to help kind of keep that legacy going.
There's just so much here, that we can talk about when it comes to motivation and moving on. But I think just the fact the album exists and puts something out post Taylor, it's really good. And there's just so many impactful, meaningful moments for them. Anytime a song on here comes on, it should remind you that you can move on, you can move forward.
And with that, let's move on to find out who gave the longest review in under 2 minutes. Matt, what was my score, dare I ask?
You came in at a meager 1 minute 36.
Ooh, under.
Yep.
I came under you. But see, I'm already making puns with the new album songs. Because you came in at 1 minute and 52 seconds. Congratulations. You beat me by, if my math is correct, 20 seconds.
Little off, but we'll go with it.
Yeah, tomato. Yeah. Well, about 20 seconds.
I'm the teacher here, so it's okay. Oh. Show you how this is played.
And that's why you're my hero.
Watch him as he goes.
But do you agree with us? Are we overhyping this album? Were you kind of disappointed, or do you agree with us in that you're just madly in love with But Here We Are? Tell us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Epic Footnote. Also subscribe to our YouTube channel to hear more episodes like this, including a bunch of episodes that feature Dave Grohl and Foo Fighters. And once again, thank you to Lucky 13 Beard Co.
That's right. Use that code EFP10 at checkout. 10% off of your entire order. Any beard balm or oil that they have on the site. You also can pick up ours. It is called the Lemmy Bourbon Tobacco Cola Leather. It is in tribute to Lemmy from Motorhead, and it smells absolutely incredible. Lucky 13, the number, beardco.com, the website, the code EFP10 at checkout. You smelling epic and feeling great.
And if you want to support us even more so we can do more silly podcasts like this, go to our Linktree page, which you can find on any of our social media bios, where you'll find a link to buy merchandise from us. Yeah, Epic Footnote hats, t-shirts, coffee mugs, stickers. Really helps not only so we can actually keep producing this, but also helps spread the word by showing your friends, hey, look at this cool shirt. Yeah, it's a podcast hosted by two dudes, so they're pretty cool. Kind of, I don't know. Appreciate your support, and we also appreciate you continuing to listen and subscribe to our channels. We hope you join us for another episode real soon.
See ya.